Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Brown County in Focus. I'm Brown County Deputy Executive Jeff Flint, joined by Brown County Executive Troy Streckenbach. And Troy, today we'll get to listen to our second part of our two-part interview with Brown County Sheriff Todd Delain. But before we get there, wanted to talk a little bit about your 2026 budget proposal, which is being introduced.
Yeah, so one of the responsibilities of a county's executive is to bring forth annually a budget to the Brown County Board of Supervisors to consider, adopt. Obviously, the county executive, similar to the governor, has an opportunity to veto certain things that were added during that process. And ultimately, the goal is to have a signed budget prior to the end of the year so that we can get property taxes out to the residents of Brown County. So when you think about it, our budget varies somewhere between $275 million to $350 million, depending on what type of capital projects that we have in place. But the number that most people are interested in is, what is the property tax going to be this year, or what's my tax rate? How is this going to impact my budget at home? Since we've introduced the debt reduction infrastructure tax relief plan, our plan has really worked in a manner that has reduced our tax rate by almost $2 since enacting it. Our debt levy has been reduced by roughly just under $7 million since it's been enacted, where that's creating the tax relief. And our overall debt has dropped by almost $125 million since taking office. So the plan's working, and this budget that we're proposing is going to continue that level of success, while at the same time investing in our critical mandated services, fixing our roads, and ultimately improving the quality of life in Brown County. Is it everything that everybody wants? Of course not. But it is reflective of all the hard work that the individual department heads, along with their staff, working side by side with the county board. We ultimately believe this budget that the county board's going to deliberate over the course of the next 30 days is a good budget. It's sound, it's fiscally responsible, and it continues to provide those mandated services that the citizens of Brown County expect.
This is your 15th budget that you've introduced since taking office, right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Do you still get asked? Because I feel like I get asked a lot. When we talk about the budget, you brought it up yourself. There's the levy portion of the budget. That's the piece that really is most impactful, I think, for property taxpayers, is the levy portion of the budget. That's in the $96 million range?
Yep. This year will be $96 million.
But media may take and report, oh, well, it's a $300 million or whatever the figure is budget. I mean, that's taking in a lot of things. Can you kind of walk through like the difference between the two numbers?
Well, if you think about it, we get quite a bit of our revenue through the federal and state governments. A lot of the programs that we're running are based on a mandated service that the state and the federal government provides allocations to Brown County to conduct those services here. That's one portion. So human services is one of those large departments that brings in a lot of revenue through the federal government to provide to the citizens of Brown County. Another area, of course, is our courts. And lastly, but not least, is some of the enterprise departments. They have expenses, they have revenues, but they are completely off the property tax levy. And a couple of those departments are the new zoo, the airport, solid waste department. So just a couple of examples of departments that they have operating expenses and revenues, but they are not supported by the Brown County taxpayer in terms of putting together their budget.
And the key piece is the mill rate that people will see on their tax bill, and it will only cover the county portion of the tax bill. This has been a discussion point for forever, is if you live in the city of Green Bay, for example, and you look on your tax bill, you're going to see the city of Green Bay line, you're going to see a Brown County line, you're going to see a school district line, and you're going to see an NWTC line. The property tax rate that we talk about, or mill rate, are those two interchangeable terms?
They are. How they're calculated, once we've completed our budget, it gets sent down to Madison They do their work. They then look at the assessments that have been done at the individual municipalities. And ultimately, that impacts the individual homeowner in said jurisdiction. So while we will have in our budget, this budget that we're bringing forth, Brown County as a whole, if you're 100,000 feet above and you're looking, our tax rate is going to drop down another 14 cents to a record low. And that will be a roughly $2.66 per thousand. Now, how that impacts individual homeowners in different municipalities is really going to depend on what's happening in that community. Are they increasing their taxes? Did they do an assessment? Did they have a lot of growth? All those factor in ultimately to how our tax rate will be reflected on their individual tax bill.
So the county is doing its part. It's lowering the mill rate, the tax rate per thousand that the county levies on property taxpayers. But that's our part. We don't control that piece. We only control the piece that is the mill rate or property tax rate per thousand that we talk about here.
Correct. And so when you think about it, if we hadn't had almost $1 billion of growth this year, because of that, that has helped lessen the overall impact on the individual property owners throughout Brown County. Now, again, how that growth is being assessed and which municipality it's taken place in will have impacts on the overall calculation of that mill rate and who's paying what. So from our standpoint, we are doing our part into lowering that tax rate while still providing the services that are necessary to run Brown County.
Finally, in this budget, the other thing that really gets a lot of attention, aside from the financials, are the investments, the infrastructure, the different initiatives that year after year the county provides to our residents. And this year, can you talk about some of the bigger infrastructure investments we got going on?
Well, I think first and foremost, obviously, we're continuing to invest in the South Bridge Connector project. Next year, people should be seeing the interchange completed on 41. They'll see the connecting road systems to that interchange completed. And then, of course, we're working on the other section. So our plan is to have that completed in the next 4 to 5 years. It's pretty aggressive, but in the end, that's one of the bigger projects that we have online. In total, I believe we have roughly $30 million in expenditures for roads and bridges in Brown County. Now, of course, that is a combination of Brown County dollars, state dollars, local municipality cost share dollars, and in some cases, some Fed dollars. So the total amount is $30 million. We're going to do roughly 32 lane miles for those who want to keep track. Not every road is equal, but in the end, someone wanted to measure. We're doing roughly about 32 miles of road work in Brown County. So we are absolutely 100% fixing our roads and improving quality of our infrastructure for Brown County and businesses in the area. We'll also start kicking off the Polium plant development site, so the port site that will hopefully include not only sea rice operations for them to relocate the coal piles to their site on the Fox River, but also to accommodate an additional or 2 operators on the port. So we're excited about that project. We have still some work to do to get that done, but we're getting close. We'll be completing a jail pod for the sheriff's office that's been kind of underway for a few years. It's going to be about a $15 million project that should be completed in 2026. Our library partnership with the village of Ashwaubenon, that will be completed in 2026, hopefully right around April 2026. That was roughly a $7.5 million project. That is partnered up with the senior or over 55 housing development. Pretty exciting collaboration that we have there. We also have the One Denmark project. That's going to get started here this month, and we're excited to see that project hopefully will be completed by next year. So that's the Denmark Library branch that we're really excited about. We have some discussions around our central library renovation plan in partnership with the ADRC and the Wisconsin Job Center. So those plans are taking root. The Brown County Board is temporarily supported those fundings for that large project. And so we're hoping the third on the square is what it's being billed as, will begin its process in the first part of this year coming up. We have some work going on in our parks, Bayshore Park, the fairgrounds, some exciting projects happening to really bring Bayshore back up to where it needs to be as far as a safety and infrastructure for boating. And at the same time, they'll be improving some of the campsites. And over at the fairgrounds, we're connecting our, what we like to call the Fox River West Trail. And this is going to be working with the Village of Ashwaubenon, the City of De Pere, the City of Green Bay, and Newater, where we're using our riverfront to connect the trails and ultimately make a large loop between De Pere and Green Bay for a Fox River Trail system. We'll be adding some campsites there as well, so we're kind of excited what that project will mean to Brown County once completed. In every department, we have small projects, but the best way for people to find out is we'll be linking this budget online for individuals to take a look at and see how we're spending their money.
All you have to do is go to browncountywi.gov and go and click on the County Executive page, and you'll be able to check out what's in the 2026 Brown County budget proposal. We'll take a break and come back with part 2 of our chat with Sheriff Todd Delain right after this.
Hi, I'm Nikki with Brown County Parks, and I'm here today to talk to you about fall happenings within our Brown County Park system. So fall is calling, and Brown County Parks is answering with a season full of adventure, nature, and a little bit of spooky fun. The Brown County Rifle Range is back in action with 10 lanes, targets provided, archery and crossbow stations, and even handicap accessible booths. This is your go-to spot to be sighted in, and we are open rain or shine and staffed with our staff ready to assist you and get you dialed in for your hunting season. And if you missed the first bird hikes at Barkhausen, we have additional ones on Friday, October 10th. Same great trails, same friendly birds, and still totally free. So don't forget your binoculars and join our naturalist here at Barkhausen for those fall bird hikes. And then we move on to October 17th and October 18th. It's the Barkhausen Jack-O-Lantern Walks. These are some of our most popular events, so you're going to want to sign up as soon as you see the information posted. We have the trails lit with over 100 hand-carved jack-o'-lanterns, so they light up the night sky and add to a little spooky fun here at Barkhausen. Goosebumps on Gravel Pit Road and a Hobgoblin hike at Bayshore and Reforestation Camp campgrounds. These events are filled for the campers registered at the campsites at both our reservable and non-reservable first-come sites. There's trick-or-treating, we have a park ranger candy stop, spooky site decorating contests, and plenty of family fun. Camping and everything in between, Brown County Parks has your fall covered with fun, festive, and full of adventure. Come on out, make memories, and most of all, enjoy your fall with Brown County Parks.
You know, we recently had the fentanyl, where it was just the amount of deaths that were taking place. It was kind of crazy. But also we used our health department, our medical examiner's office, did a huge educational campaign. And luckily we've seen, not only here in Brown County, but nationwide, a dramatic reduction of fentanyl overdoses and deaths.
We've raised that awareness. So now that we can educate the public, we're starting to see people maybe taking the advice, maybe utilizing some of the added resources, not only here, but of course nationwide. So we talked about it then, and we continue to talk about it now. Once you deal with that problem, a new problem comes back in, and apparently what's old is new again when it comes to crack cocaine.
Yeah, I will say that the partnership that we've had with the Brown County Human Services has been wonderful, and the Brown County Drug Task Force continues to work with Human Services, direct individuals to resources when we have contact with them, especially those that are users and addicted. We want to get them resources. Certainly, that's the key to it. Hold those that are bringing those dangerous drugs to Brown County accountable. Try to go up the ladder as far as you can, and address those that just got wrapped up into it and are maybe addicted, to get them resources. I will tell you that the Drug Task Force has officers assigned to follow up on all of those overdoses and those overdose deaths. And they continue to dig into that and refer individuals for the Len Bias homicide type charge for those that are responsible for ultimately another person's death here in Brown County. And here in the last month, for sure, I've seen come across my desk, and I may be missing additional, but for sure 2 additional cases that have gone through where the Brown County Drug Task Force has identified those that we believe are responsible for that other person's death and referred those cases to the district attorney's office for potential charges.
Yeah, and you think about what the sheriff's office does. I mean, a lot of the individuals who are residing currently or waiting their time have some type of an addiction issue, mental health issue. Brown County, and you talk about that partnership with the Health and Human Services, we recently added on a clinician, a social clinician, who can go on those calls with individuals who are having a mental health crisis. And in some cases, not all, but the social worker will know the case, the individual, and rather than having them go through the very lengthy, costly process of our judicial system, we may be able to find out what's causing the current crisis and provide them community resources or figure out what can help stabilize this individual rather than having them in the patrol car, going to the hospital, then eventually crisis center, wherever it might be. There's just a lot of law enforcement, medical costs that are associated with this one individual. And if we can help resolve that earlier, it gets your deputies back on the road to do what we ultimately want them to do, is making sure that the community's safe.
Yeah, Brown County has really done a wonderful job of integrating human services into our normal patrol operations. And we have 2 clinicians that assist us on a daily basis with those mental health cases. So what we often see is those that are struggling with mental illness have a progression, and oftentimes it gets worse if they don't receive proper treatment. Those calls often will come into the sheriff's office, and we end up sending an officer to that call and identify, hey, there's some mental health issues going on here. If we can refer that individual to the clinician who can then take that case and work with that individual to get them the treatment they need, it's better for the person, and it's certainly better for the community. It helps the sheriff's office because then we're not spending time and energy, resources to go back to that individual several different times when we've went there, identified this is mental health, steered them towards our human service partners. They're able to help that individual get the treatment they need and ultimately put them in a better place, which is better for the community and then ultimately better for us because we're not going back there over and over again. So that's a good partnership and something that Brown County should be proud of.
One of the things before we get to our last question is that your office actually does the police work in representing local municipalities' law enforcement arm. I know Swamico, Alloway, Howard, Bellevue. Am I missing another one?
Denmark.
Denmark, okay. Because I know the towns, obviously, based on population, you're required to patrol those areas. But then when a municipality gets to a certain size, they make a decision whether or not they want to have their own law enforcement police operations or if they want to contract out with the sheriff's office. And I know that when I've watched the debates between the different municipalities, it keeps coming back where this partnership with the sheriff's office, because of all the infrastructure that you already have in place, the training, the different units, just basically that infrastructure that's very costly to operate and maintain and equip. By partnering with the sheriff's office, they, by default, get access to all that, the investigation piece, and are getting a fairly decent discount per officer that's being brought onto their local municipality. Now, I'm not saying they're getting it for free and the rest of the county's not subsidizing it, but they are getting part of the whole sheriff's office that they wouldn't have to fund 100% on their own. And so from what I've seen over my time here as a county executive, that municipalities continue to see the value and continue to invest, and you've added a few over the last number of years.
Yeah, so the sheriff's office contracts with the 5 municipalities you talked about, which is Howard, Swamico, Alloway, Bellevue, and the village of Denmark. It is a win-win. So let's be clear, those villages pay for their services. So the officers they have, they're paying for. The squads they have and the equipment in it, they're paying for it. And we provide them with an opportunity to let everybody know that it's that municipality's squad and basically the person in it is through the sheriff's office, but contracted with them. So when you're in any of those municipalities, you see that squad car marked with that village, and it's a sheriff's deputy in it. But where the savings really comes in, and this is what is really important to understand, is that when you have your sergeants, your lead workers, your supervisors, your lieutenants, as well as the chain of command all the way from, your chief deputy to the sheriff, for a municipality, they don't have to have their own police chief. They don't have to have an assistant chief or a captain or lieutenant, because now we are able to absorb that in and spread that cost over all of the municipalities and the county. So the county is doing better as well because they're getting some of their expenses offset in the sharing of that sergeant and that lieutenant, because the county would have to have the sergeant and lieutenant on anyway, and that municipality would have to have that person on as well. But their span of control, they're able to do them both. So it truly is a win-win. It's one of those things, if you look at any study that's done, and I know the Wisconsin Taxpayer Alliance has done many studies related to this, the cost of doing business like this is significantly more cost effective than having your own department. And it goes to the other things, right? Such as having another evidence room and an evidence manager and all of those record staff. So if you have your own agency, you have to have your own evidence room and you have to have your own record staff and all those administrative things that they have to deal with, where we're able to bring that in and combine them so that everyone can save. So they pay their costs, no doubt. This isn't something where they get it for free or anything else like that. But the cost sharing is what makes it efficient for everyone. And quite honestly, we should look at that in many different parts of government where you can combine things and ultimately get rid of that overhead and be more efficient in what we do.
Yeah, I think the state of Wisconsin finally figured out how to make some amendments to previous legislation that authorized this innovation fund, basically $100 million, encouraging local governments, whether it's county to county, municipality, county to municipality, to look at how to create efficiencies in government and offering access to this grant as a means to help make those decisions happen. My guess is, especially our southern part of the county, with the growth that's happening there, that you perhaps will have a few other municipalities as their population continues to grow, that they may be interested in your services. Who knows? A lot of those municipalities like to have that local control. So,
we do it in a way that they still do have their local control of what they want done and stuff like that. But
places they want them to focus their time.
So it is really
patrolling.
a balance. It's just that we try to do a lot of sharing and partnering of those, I would say, administrative functions and supervision functions that don't really impact what happens on the street, but more of the administrative stuff. So I think as we move forward, we'll continue to look at how we can partner with our municipalities to find ways to be more efficient across the county.
Your office, obviously, from a deputy standpoint, is seeing a lot of things happening on the road. For our listeners right now, what is the number one challenge that you see your office want the public to be aware of at this time of the year?
Two different things here I probably would like to address. One would be more of things to be aware of, and then, be cautious of potential criminal stuff. So that's how I'm going to break it up. The first thing, it's fall, and kids are certainly back in school. And so we have a lot of young kids moving around along the roadway and stuff like that. It's important to, remember to slow down and really pay attention, especially in those school zones and stuff like that, where excited children often, aren't really paying attention as well as they should and could end up in harm's way. So that's one. And the second, as we move into fall, Brown County still has significant area of rural farmland and it's harvest season. So we're going to see a lot of heavy farm equipment moving around our county highways, and it's extremely important to pay attention to that. Know that this heavy equipment that's moving is not moving very fast because it cannot.
One of the questions I've been asked is, what's the law when the heavy equipment's going down a county road, passing? Is it like any other normal? Like if you got the passing lane and you can pass, you can do that? Or is there certain rules that we need to be following?
Same rules of the road apply. I think the big difference is look at passing them if it's in a passing zone. Nothing allows for an individual to pass in a no passing zone. So passing in hills or curves or blind spots. If you have the solid yellow line or double solid line, do not attempt to pass because there's a hazard that you may not realize. But that farm equipment often takes up the entire shoulder of the road as well as the lane of traffic all the way up to the yellow line. And it's a big piece of equipment that's probably moving less than 20 miles an hour. So you have to slow down, wait for the right opportunity to go around it, because a collision with any large piece of equipment like that generally results in a lot of damage and potential injury. So I just bring that up as something to think about as we move into fall, plowing and working the fields as we finish out the year before winter, to be thinking about that so that we don't have any serious crashes involving farm implements. That's the awareness. The last piece is awareness, and that is the amount of scamming that is going on throughout this country. And we are seeing it here in Brown County nearly on a daily basis. Attempts and then success. So everything from the jury scam to you missed a court appearance, you didn't pay a ticket, you name it, we've seen it. Investment scams, pretty much anything and everything that you could see, they try it across the country to scam people out of money. And sadly, we've seen individuals lose their life savings to these scams. My advice is this: if you are not sure, if somebody's asking you for any money, you need to verify it, and not verify it with that individual, because these individuals are professional scammers. They make it sound real. I've had individuals who have been part of the criminal justice system that have been contacted, and those individuals have said, if it weren't for the fact that I do this every single day, or I see this on a regular basis, I would have 100% thought that this was real. That's how good these individuals are portraying they're part of some legitimate organization attempting to resolve an issue. My suggestion is this: anytime you receive any of those calls, letters, or anything else, stop, pause, reach out to other individuals to have them take a look at it, maybe contact them. There's nothing that is occurring right now that has to be resolved this second, including threats of going to jail or anything else. The sheriff's office is not calling individuals. The police departments are not calling individuals saying, you need to pay this right now, or we're going to send officers, deputies to your house to take you into custody. That is not happening. You can make calls to the sheriff's office independently. Don't let them say, I'll connect you to an officer. Don't let them say, I'll transfer you. None of that. You hang up the call. If you need to, you can stop by the sheriff's office. You can stop by your local police department, and they will fill you in. Sadly, I've seen individuals convinced to bring money to other individuals who pick it up. And the other thing is cryptocurrency. They'll advise people to make a withdrawal and then deposit that money into cryptocurrency or put it in a cryptocurrency system. And within seconds, that money is gone, and it is extremely difficult, if not completely impossible, to get that money back. That money is moved very quickly outside of the country to these foreign countries where these criminal actors are operating these nationwide scams. So be aware of it. Sadly, again, we've seen individuals lose thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars of their life savings by being scammed. My suggestion is stop whatever that conversation is and reach out to a trusted loved one for additional advice. Think about it. When necessary, reach out to law enforcement, and we will let you know rather quickly whether or not that is a legitimate claim. So again, be aware of the scams. Do not send any money. Do not give anyone any money. Do not do anything with cryptocurrency, because most of that cryptocurrency exchange for either a product or to get out of some trouble is almost assuredly a scam.
very important information that everyone should be taking notes on. We have to probably do some type of awareness. And I know that you guys have put out stuff about the police scams that were happening out there. We just have to kind of remind people on a regular basis, kind of like every year we do. It's winter, watch for the plows. And I think, we may need to start doing an annual awareness of the scams. So look forward to having you back, Todd, in regards to other things that your office is doing, because you are doing a lot. We could talk about the drug take back is another thing when we look at just our fight against the drugs and the problems with opiates in Brown County and nationwide. But we truly appreciate your service, your dedication, your years of service to Brown County, your service to our country, and everything that you've done to make Brown County a safe place. And so with that, Jeff, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, County Executive Streckenbach, and thank you, Sheriff Delain, for joining us today. We'll be right back to wrap up this edition of Brown County in Focus right after this.
Hi, it's Angela with the New Zoo and Adventure Park, and I'm here to remind you of all the fun stuff that we have to do during the fall months. The zoo and the canopy tour are both open every single day of the year. We open at 9 a.m. and have a ton of stuff for you to see and enjoy. During the fall, we also have our Halloween event, Zoo Boo, which happens over 6 nights in October. And the Adventure Park continues to run on Saturdays and Sundays. We also have a couple of evening events on the canopy tour that you can check out and enjoy. And of course, you're welcome to consider booking a private program with us, like one of our wild encounters. Even when the weather starts to cool down, we still have plenty to do and see here. So be sure to stop on out and visit us. You can check out all the details on newzoo.org.
Welcome back to Brown County in Focus. I'm Jeff Flint, Brown County Deputy Executive. Well, this is just a sample of what is to come here on Brown County in Focus. Troy, thank you for sitting down with us today, and we'll be back next time with more information, more public service from Brown County in Focus.